Hey guys, has this ever happened to you?
Yay, I finally finished this critical part of my plan. Surely there won't be any monkey wrenches that might interfere.
Bazinga.
Yeah, me too. Ever since my last video, I worked on my game, and basically the part where I mentioned working in 2D on a 3D game backfired. Goodbye, dog. I made a bunch of progress on the player state machine, but ultimately I couldn't work with the camera. This marks the third major shift and restarting of me making a video game. What? Don't laugh at me! Anyways. At this point, I made a devlog, but I went overboard and it took weeks of time to work on. I stopped making that one because it took away from actually working on the game, which I stressed at the end of my last devlog. Also, I continued my borderline pointless job search in a market that despises STEM graduates. I was happy with how this project was coming along. We got a nice tile map and even some lighting going on. Let's see what player actions I completed. We got walking, running, sliding, jumping, blocking, and even attacking. Also, I added a JPEG of Obama that ruthlessly follows you around. Plus, I added this other little guy with hit detection for my player. The movement is done in code, not as root motion. The reason I had to stop arose after I did my first player art animation. See how decent and visible this is? Yeah, and the actual scene, he is small. The player and enemy art should be big enough and visible enough to read attacks and moves, and then react to them appropriately. With the camera zoomed out this much, that type of interaction would be hard to work with as it relates to what I'm going for. I wanted to try brute forcing this format to avoid 3D art software. Alas, I must now abandon you, Obama, in favor of a more suitable medium. Hello, Blender. About a month ago, I said fuck it, we ball, and just jumped straight into Blender. Funnily enough, I already use Blender for video editing, so I'm already a little familiar with the UI. Did you know that Blender has a video editor? None of my friends that I've talked to know about it.
That's probably because you don't have any friends and have to talk to imaginary figures like me, sir.
And update, it hurts.
Yeah, so, I watched a good number of videos by Crashing Academy on YouTube, who teaches you a lot about making low poly models, which is really helpful. I only have a few brain cells, so I didn't really understand a lot, but I gathered just enough to start working on a player model of my own. First, I drew a front and side view of the character based on my concept art. Make sure that proportions match up in this part or else you'll end up with an abomination. Then I placed them into Blender side by side and started sculpting a cube to match the art. This part actually isn't as bad as it seems until you encounter some really asymmetric shapes like hair or weird accessories. Next, I tackled the worst part of 3D modeling, which is UV unwrapping and texturing. This process is akin to blinding yourself and then participating in D-Day while armed with nothing but a fucking butter knife. You basically are given a sheet of random ass shapes and then have to guess their orientation and draw on them. And when you finally get to draw on them, after struggling to export the UV map, the shapes are all wrong and you have to re-import everything again. Needless to say, I did not enjoy this process at all, and is the main reason why I wanted to brute force 2D art. But hey, my dude looks pretty decent, so it was worth something. After you somehow manage to get things good enough with texturing, you rig your model with bones and paint joints to make sure they bend as seamlessly as possible. This part isn't too bad, but make sure to check every joint. I failed to check the armpits of my guy, and when I moved his arm later, it turned his torso into a crushed soda can. Where I'm at now is finally animating the model, which is cool. Also, I gave him a katana because swords are based. After I finish the first basic player states like idle, walk, attack, and such, I will move it into Godot and start learning the 3D project structure.
Shut up, nerd. We are out of budget, and you take too long to upload videos.
Wait. I have one last thing to say to you. I don't want to go on too long here because I'll get too corny, but listen. I'm not a commercially successful guy. I don't have a real job. I don't have many friends, and I don't know if this game dev shit'll work out for me. But here's a cinematic flashback to why I do this and why you should follow your dreams too.
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant, and when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
Up is gay.
So profound, much inspiration. Wow. Anyways, I must continue to fail until I get somewhere in life. Goodbye.